International Socialist Feminist ROSA conference, where people from over 19 different countries from all over the world are coming here together today in Vienna. And even more to count online, as Freddie already mentioned. With this first International Socialist Feminists ROSA conference, we want to revive an important tradition. In 1907, the German revolutionary socialist Clara Zetkin organized the first International Socialist Women's Conference in Stuttgart. Over 58 delegates from 15 countries participated. And this conference laid the foundation for organizing women of the working class on an international level. They gave birth to the International Women's Day in 1911, based on the struggle of working class women for bread and roses, for a society in which they don't just survive, but in which everyone can enjoy life. As workers in France are demanding now on mass strikes against Macron's pension reform, or as women in Iran do when they're fighting the repression by the dictatorship. This day, the 8th of March, is still important today. Many of us in this room have been on the streets on the 8th of March 10 days ago. And today, 116 years later, the ROSA conference wants to take a first step into the footsteps of this International Socialist Women's Conference organized by these pioneers. Because over 100 years later, it's still true, this system is failing. Women have been hit hardest by the pandemic, the crisis, inflation, exploding energy and food prices. Female-dominated jobs are poorly paid. Childcare and housework were shifted even more onto women in various lockdowns. And now, by the care crisis that brings public care and education to the brink of implosion. Violence against women and LGBTQI youth is still hitting record heights. And women and LGBTQI plus people around the world are angry, and rightly so. Today, if we take a look to who is fighting the hardest against this rotten capitalist system, pictures of young women in Iran and Kurdistan giving the dictatorship the middle finger come into mind immediately. The revolution in Iran shows us the concentrated rage against oppression. And they received solidarity worldwide because women and queer people wanted to say, we stand side by side with you. Your struggle is our struggle, because the fight against oppression is international. This experience pushed them in the front line of all movements, and all movements are faced with the impossibility of fundamental change as long as power remains in the hands of the capitalist class, a parasitic minority. From the struggle against harassment and violence in all walks of life, to the fight against racism and police violence, from the fight for bodily autonomy, to the fight against climate destruction, to the struggle of workers in healthcare and education sector, women and queer people are in the front line. Combining these struggles is a crucial part of socialist feminism and ROSA. The one question that every activist asks sooner or later is, how can we succeed? How can we fight for the end of oppression? And what is needed is a powerful organization that is political and organizationally capable of doing this, to invite people to join our fight with a political clarity and strategy, to organize people together. ROSA is an instrument of struggle, united as women, queer people and workers, as the only way to achieve steps forward. This is the spirit of this conference. ROSA is about building the struggle against women's oppression and against all forms of oppression and exploitation. In that struggle, we want to take inspiration from women fighters from the past, such as Clara Zetkin and Alexandra Kollontai. For more details, check the commission for that later. They organized hundreds of thousands of working class women in the struggle for their rights, social rights that were overlooked by many of the liberal feminist organizations. In February 1917 in Russia, the ideas of our socialist feminist predecessors became reality, when women workers came out and started a movement that would overthrow one of the most reactionary regimes in place at that time. Understanding that full women's emancipation is not possible without overthrowing capitalism, but also that the struggle needed the masses of women to be involved in order to win and build a socialist society. This is still true today. The consciousness of women and queer people of working class is radicalizing so fast because this system is failing. It's failing with multiple crises, with the pandemic, with war, with climate crisis, energy crisis, inflation. It's unbearable. We are fighting because there is no other way. Let's turn anger into resistance, and let's use this resistance to build a movement to let it grow international. This is what we want to discuss here. This is what we want to build together with all of you. Rosa Luxemburg said, "A revolution is unthinkable until it happens, and this conference wants to be part of the beginning."